now is a great time for me to practice my undercut. I haven't spent much time on this. I've centered the pot, but I haven't gotten around to drilling the hole, pulling up the walls. It's early on. And so this is a great time to practice undercutting. Now, why do you need to undercut? Well, here is an excellent example of a piece that's well made. It's thrown, it's got a nice round bottom, but it's got all this extra clay on the outside. In fact, it looks like this person tried to undercut and ran into some trouble doing that. But sometimes when you throw, you end up with essentially extra clay stuck down here on the wheel head. If you leave it on a bowl, it just takes extra time to trim. But if you leave it on a cylinder, when you're not going to do much to it, it just slows you down. I guess in both cases, it just slows you down. Now, here is an example of a piece that didn't ever get an undercut, and it's just kind of wobbly and uneven. The other thing we see happening here is the glaze has dripped. Looks like they got away with it, but it's really uneven and really close. Now, here is an example of a piece that has a nice, clean undercut, and that's also the glaze stopping point. So it's a nice, clean area for that glaze to end and not risk having that glaze drip past that bottom edge. So an undercut, like I say, good idea saves you time later on, but it's a little intimidating. It's a good idea to practice now. So the important thing is that I'm going to use the blade of this tool to come in and cut into the clay. And I'm going to do it at about this angle, but I'm going to see if I can bring it around so you can see what I'm doing. What I don't want to do is come in from the side. I'm just scraping some clay away, and that's going to be, I guess better than nothing, but it's not going to really cut into my clay. I'm going to take and brace my hand and cut down into the clay. Once I commit to that angle, it's important that I follow that angle down. If I come and back my hand away, I don't cut a ring of clay off. I just end up with kind of squishing the clay back together. So I'm going to dribble a little bit of water down my knife into that gap, and that'll allow me to, holding my needle tool parallel to the wheel head, cut a little bit of that clay away. Now, if I didn't undercut well, I could re-smooth this and try again. And so I want to show you what not to do. So when you're undercutting, what sometimes happens is people start at an angle, start to cut, and then get scared, and they kind of back off on it. And that ends up with this piece kind of split and then stuck back to the clay. If you do this and you try it now, no big deal, because you can recenter that clay and start again, right? You haven't wasted much time, and you haven't ruined a piece that you spent a ton of time on already, right? So good idea to practice that undercut early on. Useful for bowls, saves you time, saves you stress of trimming, but really useful for cylinders too.